Need the coffee. So I think it's cafecito time.
Cafecito time.
Oh, cafecito time.
Cafecito time indeed. Welcome everybody to a Saturday morning edition of Cafecito and Canes. While you guys go on there and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, I'll take a quick little sip of my coffee. Tastes like victory, and it tastes good. I don't usually come on Saturdays. I used to more often. I haven't done it in a while, but I was in a celebratory mood, and we should be. Miami is in the national championship. I know we're a few days removed, and yes, I know our opponent is set. Indiana went out and just demolished Oregon in the Peach Bowl last night. By the time I was busy, so I didn't catch the beginning of it. So I tuned in to check the score, and it was already like 35-7. So yeah, that was over pretty quick. Turnovers seem to have done Oregon in pretty early in that game. And so we know our opponent now. It's going to be Miami, Indiana at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami to decide it all for all the marbles. And what a matchup, like the amount of the storylines going into that. Because if we had faced Oregon, you have Mario versus his former team, that writes itself. To be honest, I think if it was Oregon, we would have just run right through them. They don't have the trenches we have. They don't have the toughness, the physicality we have, and the depth at those positions specifically. Plus, now we know Mark Fletcher and a bunch of other guys were battling the flu in this game. So I think Miami probably would have pulled away a little sooner in the last game, even with all the mistakes and everything. I just don't think we had the punch we normally have. That probably will be back. And yeah, had we faced Oregon, I think you would have seen Mark Fletcher have like 25 to 30 carries and run for a $180, 200 yards. They would not have stopped him. But nevertheless, it's going to be Indiana. I'm happy. I'm excited for the matchup, honestly. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a true test. This is hands down the best team we've played all year. It's going to be our biggest test. You got the Columbus connection, of course. Mario, Alex Mirabal, Columbus grads. You got Bryce Fitzgerald on the team, Ryan Rodriguez on the team, Columbus grads. And then you got on their side, of course, Fernando Mendoza, who just won the Heisman. Columbus kid, grew up in Miami, grew up a Miami Hurricane fan. One of his dreams was to play for Miami, was in the portal last year and was available. There was some mutual interest there. Miami, for better or worse, didn't pull the trigger. Ended up with Carson Beck. I would say it's worked out pretty well for Miami too, but Fernando Mendoza went to play for Curt Cignetti and has absolutely torn it up. So congrats to him for getting this far. Happy for him. But on the 19th, he is the enemy. And our defense better be prepared because that Indiana offense is scary. They're scary with how efficient and how efficient they are and how well they execute. I'm 50. Miami playing for a Natty feels normal. It's just been so long. Yeah. I'm 38, and 4 of the 5 championships did happen during my lifetime, but I really got to watch and absorb the 5th one in the early 2000s. And I guess it was close enough removed from the early 90s and late 80s that, a lot of those players were like still in the NFL, and, you heard the stories. 10 years removed is not really that long. So, it was still kind of fresh in everybody's mind. So, the Canes being great. Yeah. Growing up, it felt normal for me too. But man, yeah, at 50, my siblings are around that age. So they got to experience it all. So I'm a little jealous of that. But, hopefully this starts a new trend, and Coach Cristobal's building something that lasts. And, and this will continue into the future, hopefully for the next decade plus. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made in the early 2000s, although I was a kid. I was in high school. I didn't know any better. I thought that era was going to last much longer. I thought Coker and the boys were going to dominate for years. I think we all did as fans. So even though I think Mario is building something more sustainable this time, I'm not taking it for granted. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. I'm going to enjoy this. We're only a couple days removed. Yes, I know we have our opponent already. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we're celebrating still today. I'm only 29. I was 5 years old last time I won a chip. Yep. Yeah, 01. I was a freshman in high school. I remember it vividly. I was on my Christmas break. I had like 3 days left of Christmas vacation. I think the game was on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we won, and I had the weekend and then had to go back to school. But yeah, I remember that. I remember that entire weekend playing NCAA 02 on my PS2 after we won the title. And it was proof that scouting is an inexact science. It's proof of that, and it's proof of some guys are just late bloomers. And if you look at quarterback play, especially in the NFL, guys like Darnold and Mac Jones going to different teams, different systems. And hey, maybe coaching matters. How about that? Maybe the system you go to matters. Maybe fit matters, especially for quarterback. So I don't know. Yeah, Mendoza. Oh yeah, he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder for sure. Look, this is a little weird because this whole time, but you go back to week 1, literally, we played Notre Dame, one of the most hated rivals Miami's ever had. I hate that freaking team. Okay, so there was a lot of trash talk online and a lot of trash talk, between the fans in the stands. I'm sure. Although I did sit next to a couple of Notre Dame fans in that game. They sat like literally right next to me. They were cool, super respectful. They knew ball. So it was good conversation, good banter the whole time. So, there's cool fans out there too. But anyways, we played one of our most hated rivals that talked smack the entire offseason. We won. Then we played Florida, beat their ass. Then we played FSU, although we let them close the gap at the end, but that game was a complete dismantling. We outclassed them in Tallahassee, send their fans to the parking lot early. Obviously, we can't stand them. And then you got who else? You got Ohio State. It's like some of our most hated rivals of all time. We played them throughout the entire season. But then now you reach a point in the playoffs where now you're in the national championship, right? Against Indiana, a team that I don't know if Miami's ever even played Indiana. If they did, it was decades and decades ago. Indiana's a team I have a ton of respect for, that I enjoy watching them. Kirk Cignetti is one of, if not the best, just top to bottom head coach in college football. The guy is an absolute genius. Comes from that Nick Saban tree. By the way, the teams left in the Final Four were all Nick Saban guys. Cristobal, Golding, Cignetti, and Lanning. All from the Nick Saban coaching tree. I don't think that's an accident. But yeah, Cignetti, got a ton of respect for him, ton of respect for that team. A lot of the I like a lot of the players on the team. D'Angelo Pons, of course, a guy that Miami was looking into. Hell of a player. Had a pick 6 on the first play last night. Mendoza, of course. Then he got his younger brother, who's his backup, which is pretty cool, who won a state title with Columbus. Yeah, it's just I enjoy watching teams that execute well. Maybe they're not going to beat you over the head with talent, but just pure talent and speed and power, but they have enough of that while at the same time they just execute better than the other team. So I'm already going into this with a ton of respect for the other team. Zero fear, though, towards them. Make no mistake, on the 19th, they are the enemy. And if we want that 6th national title, like Ric Flair used to say back in the day, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, they're the man. At some point, we're going to come face to face with Goliath, and we got to knock that dude on his ass. And that's what's going to happen on the 19th. I'm 52. I feel the same, but these boys remind me of the 01 team. Not so much in talent. Our boys are great, but talking the attitude feels the same. That's a good point. Because the 01 team, if you guys go back, they kind of get lumped in with the teams before them of, the swag and all that, the touchdown dances, the celebrations, the Army fatigues and all that. They all kind of get lumped into that. But if you look at that team, it had like, if I remember correctly at the time, it had like the highest graduation rate of any Canes team ever. Guys didn't go out and get in trouble. There weren't any guys that were had locker room issues, that had off the field issues. I don't remember any of that on that 0-1 team, honestly. They were definitely more mature. They were a focused group. A lot of good guys on that team, and they just busted their ass to go out and dominate that year. And that's what they did. Whoever they put in front of us, we kicked their ass. And we just did it like it seemed like we did it without breaking a sweat. By the mid-third quarter, the starters would be on the bench. They'd be in street clothes and flip-flops and shorts, just, hanging out like if it was the end of a practice at Green Tree. That's kind of the vibe of the 0-1 team. So, yes, I agree with you, Skull Leader. It wasn't like the 80s and 90s with the swag. The swag of the early 2000s team were just like, yeah, our practices are harder than this game is about to be, so buckle up. We're about to beat you down. It is what it is. It was just a confidence that we were going to win. That's all it was. And I feel a little bit more of that vibe on this team as well, so I agree. Because I feel like over the years, that swag, that Miami swag, I feel like we were innovators with that, and other teams kind of copied it. Now, every good team has swag. Every team has confidence. Every good team has speed and athletes. Every good team has linebackers that can run with receivers and stuff. So that's, a lot of teams do it now, is what I'm saying. Winning the Mega Millions or Powerball has better odds of winning than finding reasonable price tickets. Yeah, that's something that concerns me a bit. Obviously, the stadium, it's a national championship. The stadium's going to be packed, but with who? Because Indiana travels very well. Their fans do. And Miami, while they'll show up for big games, obviously, but then it's like the cheapest. I looked last night just to see. The cheapest ticket I saw was literally $3,700 to sit up in the nosebleeds. That was on the Game Time app, I think. So, yeah, I just think to myself, how do people afford this? But some people find a way, man. I don't know. People have hookups. People do this and that, whatever. Some people actually pay the money to go because it's a once-in-a-lifetime bucket list thing. I just hope our fans show up. I think they will. But, man, I saw the prices and I was like, wow. The average age of that. Their average age is that of the Green Bay Packers. You're talking about Indiana? Yeah, they have a lot of older guys for sure. We do too. I love that we're a 7.5-point underdog. Yep, I'm good with that. Look, they're a hell of a team. They are the best team we've played all year, for sure. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, they literally beat Ohio State head to head. Ohio State would be the one comparable one, but we executed very well against Ohio State and played a clean game. Wearing them down with time of possession. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot with penalties like we did against Ole Miss. And, it worked out in the end. And you could tell we took that 10-point lead. They had the ball with 51 seconds left or something with no timeouts. And I'm like, you could tell they were done. They couldn't block our pass rush. You could kind of feel the turnover coming. And sure enough, Jacoby gets that pick to ice it. I remember feeling zero threat when they got that ball back. Little different when Ole Miss got the ball back with 18 seconds left. That first pass they completed, Keontae looked like he got beat, which is rare. They get the ball at midfield after one play. I'm like, oh boy, all right. Please just knock the ball down, and they did. I heard pundits earlier saying Indiana's the most battle-tested team out of the two. Are you out of yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. Man. Most battle tested. First of all, they had a first round bye. We have had to go on the road 3 times and took down 3 top 5 teams. I don't know was A&M top 5? They were like number 6. Whatever. Close enough. 3 top 6 teams on the road. We took them down. So yeah, I don't know about all that. I was super nervous felt calm before the Ohio State game. Of course, I was about to have a heart attack during this last game, but I'm not nervous at all. I'll tell you, man, going into the A&M game, you get the little pregame butterflies for sure because it's a massive game. But was I nervous? Was I scared? No, not really. This has been weird because this entire year, while I'm a nervous wreck in years past for pretty much every game, unless we're playing like Bethune or FAMU, I was pretty calm all the way back to the Notre Dame game. I was pretty calm for every game, feeling pretty confident. And again, it goes back to the trenches. When you have dominant defensive line and offensive line play and all these potential first rounders there and a veteran quarterback to go with it, I went into every game like, I think if we play clean, we don't turn the ball over, I think we're good. That's been my feeling going into every game, including A&M, Ohio State, and Ole Miss. Knowing the challenge that Ohio State posed as well. I just knew it. Play clean. It's going to be a dogfight. If we execute, I think we got a pretty good shot. That was kind of my feeling there. Nobody gives Miami a chance against beating Alabama. Good. Hey, please give us bulletin board material. Please. Please. I want it. Is this the only 4-3 defense we play? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I hope Damari Brown plays and OJ. I think OJ should be okay to play. Hopefully, he's got enough time off. He played in this game, came out. I think later came back in. Also, remember, a lot of players were battling the flu, so I don't know if that affected certain guys. I don't know. The only one we know that we've heard for sure is Fletcher. I mean, he was on the sideline like about to puke in the third quarter, so and he wasn't in on that last drive, so that makes sense. So we know for sure he was one of them. But yeah, Damari's had this extra time off to rest. Hopefully he'll be able to suit up and contribute. That would be very big because Xavier Lucas is going to be out for the first half of this game. So that hurts. But yeah, I would love to see Damari suit up and be able to play in this one. I have a good feeling just because leading up to the day before the game, Damari was listed as questionable. So there was a shot. That was kind of like, let's see how he feels game day kind of thing. So hopefully he'll be able to play because that would be massive for us. Because people don't realize when he's healthy and he's out there how much he affects plays. Everybody talks about Keontae Scott. Amazing player. Love Keontae. Probably our defensive MVP aside from Bain. But Damari being out there with Keontae, that's big for us. But yeah, hopefully OJ plays. Moton, hopefully he plays. Like, there's nobody that and then there's Lofton. There's nobody that I'm naming that I think is like definitely out. I think they all have a chance to play. So I feel pretty good there. By the way, before I forget, shout out to Jabori Slime Antoine. Bro, I think there was one play he got beat. Maybe it was the 2-point conversion. I think it was him that kind of stumbled in the back of the end zone. Whatever. He made a huge play down the sidelines to knock the ball loose. He looked good. So I'm okay leaning on him a little bit, especially in this first half. I have faith in him. But, shout out to him. Also, shout out to just the entire team, the culture and the mentality of this team for going through all this adversity during this game. Because normally we're committing 9-10 penalties. David Blaze, knocking a guard on his back. Inez and Markel Bell are jumping before the snap, killing drives. We're turning the ball over. Well, although we only had one, but still, we turned the ball over off a deflection that, we were in field goal range already. Usually when those things are happening, that's a recipe for disaster. Usually we're losing that game against lesser opponents. But they overcame it against a great team in Ole Miss. And it just shows how good this team is and really how much better they were than Ole Miss. They just, the dropped interceptions, they did not execute at the right time. Second and third quarter were kind of a mess, but finally, and even early fourth quarter, to be honest with you, but finally, when it mattered, we had 2 scoring drives to answer their scoring drives, to take the lead. Hats off to Carson Beck, again, QB1 for leading the charge. That final drive was worth every penny, whatever the hell they actually paid him. I know there's conflicting reports on that. $4 million, $6 million, whatever. The guy was worth every penny for that drive alone. Because look at I think now the tally is up to like 20 million that the football program gets for making it this far. That's literally a direct return on investment. Excuse me. By the way, don't forget to hit the like button. But yeah, like I've said this on other shows, but I'm so happy for that guy, for Carson. He was the most hated on player in college football during the offseason. He got run out of town at Georgia. When really, if you look into it, and it doesn't really take much time to do the research, he wasn't in a great situation. He and Mike Bobo, I don't think, were in sync at all. I don't think he was calling the right offense for him. He was behind a banged up and beat up offensive line that had a ton of issues second half of the year. He had a receiver group that literally led the nation in drops. Not his fault. Statistically one of the worst running games in the country. Carson Beck got a ton of the blame for Georgia not getting as far as they should have last year. And I thought he got a raw deal. Got pushed out of town. Everybody said, oh, Gunnar Stockton's the guy. Gunnar Stockton's got some talent. He's got some ability, but I was not impressed with what I saw against Ole Miss at all. Anyways, great redemption story now for Beck, because he was getting hated on and dunked on so much. I was like, I didn't know if we'd get this far, but I knew, man, Carson is going to play focused and he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. If that arm truly is healthy, I kept thinking, man, he's about to have a nice little redemption arc here with Miami. Whether it's winning the ACC, making the playoffs, winning a playoff game or two, I don't know what's going to happen, but I was like, man, this dude's about to he's about to lock in. I was saying that back in the spring. And thank God he did. And now we're one win away from championship number 6. But, man, yeah, just hats off to the guys for not giving up. And, you're in the face of adversity. You throw an interception off a deflection where you're about to score. Some questionable play calling, again, going to the Malley Cat on 3rd and 4 early in the game where we're gashing them with straight handoffs and just killing a drive. You settle for 3 when you probably would have gotten 7. Just things that would have gotten in our heads, but no, they kept chopping wood, and came out with the victory. That's what championship teams do. So shout out to the coaching staff and also Mario Cristobal for instilling that in this group, because that did not permeate through the program 4 years ago when he got here at all. This was a program that for years, and let's reflect on this for a second, like how far we've come. For years, not just Manny Diaz, Al Golden, Randy Shannon, and the latter Larry Coker days, this team would fold at the face of any adversity. But it was the opposite the other way. If we got off to a quick start on anybody, if we went up 14-0 on any team, we had enough talent and speed that we wouldn't, that was what we'd run away with it. That was a W. They were very much a fair weather team in that regard. They could not fight through adversity at all. And I always talk about this. When I saw the culture start to shift was back in 2023, second game of the year, Texas A&M at home. Miami and Mario Cristobal they get their first big win in the Mario Cristobal era. I still think at the time that was a big win because SEC team coming to town, ranked opponent, they were 22nd or 23rd. Nobody picked us to win that game. We fall behind 10-0. Some miscues on special teams. Normally that game, we just unravel and we just roll over and quit, basically. We didn't quit. We didn't give up. We came back, and from the time we were down 10-0 on the rest of that game, we dominated Texas A&M. That's when I saw, okay, the mentality of this team, this program is changing. That was the first time I had seen it in 20 years. But yeah, just wanted to make sure and get that out there. Just shout out to all the coaching staff, Mario Cristobal, the players, the trainers, the front office, everybody involved. Congratulations to all of them, because now we're one win away from the mountaintop once again, in an era where it's much harder, I think, to win a national championship. It's easier to build the team and be good and be competitive and be in the mix if you have money, but you're fighting so many other teams now to get to the mountaintop. So enjoy this if you're a fan. Let's hit the like button. Thank you, sir. Chris, let me not miss your comment. John, I would look on tape with Indiana. They're close, tough wins. Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State. They had to go down to the wire. Yeah, they had a couple games that went down to the wire. Even the most dominant teams have their couple of close games. But yeah, I will definitely be watching a lot of tape the next 9 days. They always keep 3 linebackers on the field. Miami will definitely have the size advantage on the line of scrimmage. I think it will be a good game. Excuse me. I think it will too. Just, again, Shannon Dawson, don't get too cute. The running game is working. It's been working the entire playoffs. Please stop going away from it. I understand going to a play action here and there, but don't get cute with the Mally Cat or with flea flickers or things like that. You try the Mally Cat when things are a little stagnant, you got to get something going. Maybe you run a trick play out of there. You run a flea flicker or something like that, or a play action bomb. You run those more after like a turnover, or you get cross midfield and then maybe you see their safeties playing up. It depends the look they give you. But if you're just gashing them with the run, I mean, please be smarter. Don't get cute. Don't overthink it. Keep going to what's working. Ride Brown and Fletcher and maybe a little bit of Pringle. Ride those guys to victory. Because if you can get an opening drive touchdown, chewing 8 minutes off the clock, that's what we want. Okay, you got to make these drives count, because the way we're playing, we're limiting teams. We're limiting their drives because of time of possession and all that. You can't call yourself out of a drive. All right, you gotta cash in. You gotta make each one count. I was scared, but I got PTSD bad. I drank Modelo at 10 a.m. before the Texas A&M game. Let's see. Ticket prices dropped dramatically closer to kickoff. Yeah, that's true. There's a possibility of late surge of Miami fans buying tickets, especially on since some don't fly in. I think a lot are going to fly in because there's Cane fans all over the nation, because the alumni base is kind of scattered all over the country. But yeah, that is true. Miami's got more battle scars. Yeah, agreed. The flea flicker wrecks my nerves. Look, it worked the first time against FSU, but A, that was against FSU, and B, that was right after an interception by Bryce Fitzgerald, and he returned it to midfield. That's the perfect time to do it. After a turnover, you're about 40 to 50 yards from the end zone, 60 yards from the end zone. That's around the time. That's perfect time to do it. Not what we did it against Ole Miss. I didn't agree with that at all. I didn't like it. Our O-line is bigger than Indiana's D-line. I think so. I think we got the size advantage on both ends, to be quite honest with you. Don't let what we've seen them do in their last few games. We're straight garbage, no lie. I wanted to play Oregon bad, but I knew they wouldn't win. Yeah, I had a pretty good feeling Indiana was going to win. Not the way they did, but I saw the score 35-7, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not shocked. I knew Oregon was a bit soft. They have skill for days, and I think Dante Moore's a hell of a quarterback, but I knew if a team like Indiana was a terrible matchup for them, because they're just going to straight punch them in the mouth. Alabama, I don't think deserved to be in the playoffs, to be quite honest with you. I don't think they did. I think Notre Dame deserved to be in the playoffs more than Alabama did. I think Notre Dame and Indiana would have been a great matchup, actually, now that I think of it. Do we have any interest on Jamie French? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not going to talk player acquisition right now. It's just, with all due respect, guys, I think we got bigger fish to fry right now. I'm sure Mario is hitting the portal and hitting the recruiting trail right now, using these extra few days to his advantage to keep laying the foundation and keep stacking bricks. But we got kind of a big one coming up a week from Monday. So, put that aside for now. I'm sure we got a few portal guys in the boat already. It's just a matter of when they're going to announce. I don't know if that's going to be after the season or before. I know, knowing Mario, he's a very much like no distraction kind of guy. So whoever we have signed or whatever behind closed doors, I don't think we're going to know for a bit. So yeah, let's got to sit back and enjoy this. I know, look what Mario's done coming off 7-5, and now we're about to play in the national championship just 2 years later. So not concerned about player acquisition at all. Okay. Everyone gets worried as, why don't we have a QB yet? And all that stuff. Look at the track record. Okay. It has worked to this point. I think we're going to be fine. I don't think Indiana has depth in the trenches. It will definitely be tested. Yeah. They don't quite have the depth that we have. And again, it's just run the ball. Just run the ball, man. Stop going away from it at the wrong time. John, if we pull off beating Indiana 15-0, this is Miami's greatest season. Not team 2001 greatest team, but 2025 greatest season if we win in terms of adversity. Yeah, no Miami team has gone through this kind of gauntlet. I get what you're saying. For sure. It would be the most, probably, I would say the most impressive. Because even the 0-1 team, as amazing as they were, I don't think there's any team in the country that year that could have beaten them. But say they go through a 12-team playoff. They could have an off day. I remember back then it was, Nebraska was really good. Oregon was the other team that thought that they should have. We probably should have played Oregon actually that year. That was when they had Joey Harrington. And they lit up whoever they played in their bowl game. Who else was great that year? Florida, if Florida had just taken care of business against Tennessee, they played Tennessee final week of the year that year, because usually they play them early, but I think because of 9/11, they rescheduled it. They played Tennessee in a thrilling game, and Tennessee pulled it out at the end. Had they beaten Tennessee, we would have played Florida in the national championship, in the Rose Bowl. So they were a great team that year. So, if you had a little tournament with all those top teams, who knows? Even Miami that could have had a bad day and slipped up against one of those teams. So, yeah, it's very impressive what we've done and the road we've traveled. If we had capitalized on the 4 picks like Indiana capitalized on the turnovers, the narrative would be so different going to this championship game. 100%. 100%. Dylan Day, the one that hurt the most was the Dylan Day one. Not to call him out or pick on him, but he's done some good things. I'm not gonna throw him under the bus or anything. I'm just saying that because of the moment when it happened, they were driving. We were up 17-10. They're driving with very little time left to try to at least salvage a field goal out of the drive. And I'm like, man, I remember probably a lot of fans were thinking, man, a turnover here would be great. Just negate the points altogether. Go to the half, 17-10. All of a sudden, he jumps this route, gets 2 hands on the ball. If he catches it and just, he made kind of a lunge to go catch it. If he catches it and lands clean on his feet, he's gone. It's 6 points. It's 24-10 heading to the locker room, and the game is probably over. We've had so many of those moments this year, but man, the Marty Brown run against Florida, if they had not called it back, the game's over there. We've had a lot of those this year. Malachi, against FSU. I want to say the one that was called back is Keelan Marion got caught doing an illegal motion. They called back Malachi's little drag route for a touchdown. I don't think we scored on that drive. So, yeah, that would have been an extra touchdown. We would have pulled away early against FSU. So, we've had those moments where we've had chances to, man, if you just catch that pick, if we just don't commit a false start on that play, if we just don't do that or don't do this, we would have pulled away on a lot of these teams that we had close games against. Those are the things that can't happen against Indiana because they will take full advantage Okay, even as tough, as mentally tough as we are, and I believe we are, and as battle tested as we are, if a defender gets two hands on the ball, you gotta freaking catch it. JoJo, my man, you gotta potential first down. You cannot turn your head before the ball gets into your hands, bro. You gotta catch that ball, then land on your feet and do what you gotta do to make guys miss. But we cannot have drop passes, drop interceptions. Inez, you gotta lock in. No false starts. Okay, that reared its ugly head again in this game. We were doing well, so I have faith they'll right the ship. That'll be a point of emphasis this week in practice. But ball security, catching the football, no line of scrimmage penalties, just play smart. And also, Justin Scott, dude, you got a free shot on the QB? Cool. Two-hand shove to the chest. None of this stuff where you're clubbing the guy across the neck, okay? Be smart, all right? We handed, not only left points on the field, we handed Ole Miss some points. I would say we handed them at least 10, maybe more. So you cannot be shooting yourself in the foot. One thing I will disagree with Coach Saban on, I know he was critical of Mario, and Mario had a great answer when they interviewed him. Coach Saban was critical of Mario's game management at the end of the first half, which I disagree with completely. We got the ball it was 17-10. And he's like, well, if you run out the clock there and you at least don't give the ball back to Ole Miss, and it's 17-10 going into the half. I agree. But with 2:30 whatever on the clock, we had enough time that if you're aggressive and you pass on early downs, we could have marched down the field and gotten a field goal of our own or a touchdown. You make it 24-10 again. You're going for the jugular. That game's over. You get aggressive with 2 minutes at the end of the first half. That's something Mario wasn't doing at the beginning of the season. I like that he tried to pass it on first down. Bad execution because Carson got sacked and it killed the drive. And we ended up that's the risk you take. But Mario, I thought, managed this game very well. And he's been managing every playoff game very well. I got to take my hat off to him for that as well. I totally agreed with him going for points there with 2 minutes left. John, why don't we use Josh more than JoJo? I feel he has better hands and height advantage. It's not a bad question. I hope we use Josh Moore a little bit more. No pun intended. Let's use Moore a little bit more. I like to see Josh Moore out there a little bit. But I would also like to see a little bit more JoJo because, again, I know he hasn't been the most reliable with his hands, but when he catches the ball, he has electric ability. I just hope he makes a play or two in this game that can bust the game wide open. I still believe in the kid. He's just got to get out of his head because really catching the ball, that's all mental. That's 100% mental. I'm also concerned. I hope Armando Blunt's okay. I haven't heard a lot there, but we'll see as the week progresses. Both teams are banged up. At this point of the season, both teams have, Indiana's played 15 games. No, they played 14. We've played 15, if I'm not mistaken. Or we've both played 15 because they were in a conference championship, something like that. Both teams are nicked up for sure. But we will see. I agree Josh Moore is better. Yeah, look, you got some threats on the outside. You should use them. Florida and Tennessee was good in 0-1. We almost played Colorado that year too. Colorado beat Nebraska. Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching that. It was on, I think the game was on Black Friday. It was right before, it was the day before we played Washington and just annihilated them. I want to say it was that same day. Nebraska got just demolished by Colorado. Nebraska was definitely looking ahead. And Nebraska got it anyway because back then the computer polls were still a thing, and that factored into who went to the national championship. But yeah, Florida, Tennessee, Colorado, Nebraska, Oregon. There were some good teams at the top that if you weren't careful, if you caught us on a bad day, they could have beaten us. Never seen a team Yeah, they've choked a couple years in a row. We got those 4 picks. The 7-point spread wouldn't be that high, so good we didn't live up to the big one. Yeah. Gerard Pringle would be great if we change the pace in Indiana, try to stop Mark Fletcher and Marty Brown. That's something that I would have loved to have seen in the second half against Ole Miss. But thing is, we found ourselves behind a couple of times, and we found ourselves needing to throw the ball a little bit more. But if we capitalize and we're going into the fourth quarter with a lead, yes, I agree. I would like to see a little bit more Pringle just as a change of pace, especially if you've been slamming Mark Fletcher and Marty Brown into that pile all game. All of a sudden, they see this dude that's about this tall, and you can't even see him over the line because he can kind of hide behind guys. He's a weapon. So John Kane fan from Hawaii. Oh, nice. I love Hawaii. Indiana looks really good. They play clean. Not sure if Dawson has play calling is good enough. It depends which Dawson shows up, man. You got to praise him when he's calling a good game. Like the final drive, I thought he made some great calls, and Carson Beck made some great reads. Dawson seems to lock in at the end of these games. I have noticed that. Early in the game, he likes to try tricky shit. No tricky shit. Tricky shit runs us out of drives. It kills drives. It negates points. Just take it out completely. I'm sad because I know Jordan Lyle's gone after the Natty. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Have I gotten through everybody's questions? I think I have. We had the ball 41. Yeah, I know. Again, it just shows how much better we were. Just freaking execute. That's it. Execute and stop with the cutesy play calling early in the game. Let's see. Where Indiana only plays 12 players on defense. Is that true? Is that are you being a little bit hyperbolic there, or is that like literal? Like they keep that type of a rotation? Because that's crazy. I will look more into Indiana as the week goes. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna hop off, but happy to spend this little time with you guys on Saturday morning and talking some Canes. I know the Hoops team gets going against Georgia Tech in about 17 minutes, so good luck to them. Coach Jay has gotten them nice and locked in, and I think they're 10-0 at home, so they're going to go for 11-0 today. I believe. Wait, are they playing at home? Let me look at that. Canes Hoops. They're playing at home or on the road today? Oh no, they're playing at home. Nice, at the Watsco Center. So if you're in the area, want to go catch a game, hey, go to the arena, support them. But yeah, shout out to the basketball team. They're doing great. Hope they keep it up and go to 14-2 today. John, you and Flo going to the game. As of right now, no. I'm going to be honest with you. Just those ticket prices are stupid. But I'll work the couple of connections I have and see. Maybe I can work something out. We'll see. Maybe I can get a hookup or something. But anyways, congrats to everybody, to the fans, to the team. We're in the national championship. Again, one more time, let's enjoy this. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I'm so happy right now. I'm ecstatic where this program is at. Not just what we're going to do a week from Monday, but just where the program is at. It's awesome. And thank God for Mario Cristobal, honestly. But anyways, go Canes. Everybody enjoy the weekend. Enjoy their Saturday.